Public Protector Busisiwe Mkhwebane has asked President Ramaphosa to withdraw his notice to suspend her. That's after the notice of suspension was sent to her on March 17th, requesting that she provide grounds within 10 working days as to why the President should not suspend her. Well, in a letter sent to the President in the last 24 hours through her lawyers, Mkhwebane claims that Ramaphosa was not legally entitled to give her a notice of suspension. We're now joined by University of Cape Town Associate Professor of Public Law, Cathy Powell. Prof, a very good evening to you. Always great to have you on the program, and thank you for your patience tonight as we got through some of the news this evening. I know you've been waiting quite a while, but let's begin with that very claim by the Public Protector that the President is not entitled in law to suspend her. Is she right?
No, she's not. I can see which leverage she's trying to open up for herself, though. According to Section 194 of the Constitution, the President has the power to suspend any member of a commission against whom a committee of the National Assembly has started removal proceedings. Now, the National Assembly has started removal proceedings against the Public Protector. They'll inform the President of that. He now has the right, the power under the Constitution to suspend her. What she's trying to say is that he's biased, he's conflicted, so he can't take that decision. Because some of the reports that she's produced find against him, he would be judging in his own cause if he suspended her. So, no, she's wrong. He does have the power, but she's trying to make an argument that he can't use it in this particular case.
So how solid an argument is that then, that because President Ramaphosa is the subject of investigations past and present by the Office of the Public Protector, he is then conflicted as the person to suspend Advocate Mkhwebane?
Look, that is the argument, and the jurisprudence has previously dealt with a situation where part of a power that the President had was passed on to somebody else. And that was when the previous Public Protector, Thuli Madonsela, gave Zuma the job in her Nkandla report of setting up a commission of inquiry, but she said that the person to head that inquiry should be chosen by the Chief Justice and not by Zuma himself. And there was a complaint at that time. Zuma was very upset that he couldn't choose the commissioner for the inquiry because it was his power under the Constitution. And the North Gauteng High Court accepted the idea that Zuma could not do that because he was conflicted. So that is presumably what the Public Protector now would try to rely on. But we've got to realize that with removal proceedings against commissioners from Chapter 9 institutions, we're dealing with something completely unprecedented. We've never had this before. And it cannot be that nobody against whom the Public Protector has issued a finding can suspend her, because then all she'd need to do to not be suspended is to issue a finding against everybody in the list of possible people who could exercise the power, either the President or people whom the President provides to act in his place. People whom the Constitution provides. So that would be the President, the Deputy President, or the Speaker. Now, I think that what the procedure that the NA has set up has done is to protect against bias through a different mechanism. What it's done is it makes the removal procedure start with an investigation and a finding by an independent panel. And that panel is truly independent. It was two advocates and a judge, a former justice of the Constitutional Court, all in high standing, all in good regard. They looked at the complaint. They looked at the evidence against the current Public Protector. They produced a very scathing but extremely thorough report of why there is a prima facie case for her removal. So, now, that is the report that the President then has to look at when he decides to suspend or not.
So, Prof, just on that point, Professor Powell, if I may come in there, just on the point about the suspension, why is it absolutely necessary for the Public Protector to be suspended, I beg your pardon, while all of this is ongoing? Should the President not just leave it to go on and allow the process of Parliament to conclude?
Well, think about it in the work context. If one employee accuses another employee of sexual assault, sometimes the person who's been accused will be placed on precautionary suspension so that the situation can't get worse while we're working out the facts. Now, the interim report that came from the independent panel was so shocking, produced so much bad evidence, so much damaging evidence against the public protector, that it suggested that if she stays in her post in the meanwhile, and remember this is going to be a long process, she's going to do further damage. Because the reports found that, for example, in the Vrede case, the farm case, she did not provide remedies that were required for the people who had been, who were supposed to be beneficiaries of the Vrede Farm project and instead were left with nothing. So what the report suggests is that she's actually doing harm. The suspension would prevent further harm from being done while the case is being decided. There is a deputy public protector who can take over the job in the meanwhile.
So now
it's not as if the office would fault.
Now that the president has received this letter, what are his options? Does he just go ahead and suspend her?
He can suspend her and wait for her to challenge it if she wants to, which looks like the most likely option here. Or he could ask the deputy president to take over that decision instead. I don't think he could ask the Chief Justice because that is not on the table here. It hasn't been required by a public protector's report. I think it's most likely, and from what I gather he said, that he will suspend her and she's free to try to take that on review in court. And in the meanwhile, the National Assembly will continue its review process against her.
Professor Cathy Powell, always a pleasure to speak to you. Thank you for your time. Professor Cathy Powell is with the University of Cape Town, where she's an associate professor in public law.